Welcome to another edition of the Resilient Living Podcast, a show dedicated to improving quality of life for both people and planet through liberation and independence, moving from surviving to thriving and living life on your own terms. Let's talk today about how to not struggle in life. This is a mindset show, and this is one that I think this type of show is probably not very popular. I think that because you got to get the mindset straight. I know that there's a lot of struggles in life and things that are happening to people, but they're not realizing all the things that we're going to talk today about of why. What is going on and why do people continue to struggle? That's what I don't understand, is that there's a lot of complaining and there is a lot of problems, a lot of things that are happening to all of us as individuals. And I think one of the best things that we could all realize is that everybody is going through struggles. There's people that are maybe struggling harder than you, and that's why empathy and compassion, when somebody cuts me off most of the time, it's a practice that I look and say, well, maybe something's happening in that person's life. Maybe their father just ended up in the hospital or something. They're beelining it as fast as they can, and maybe it'd be the last time they see them. So maybe that guy, instead of jerk, flipping him off or something, or honking the horn, maybe there was a reason. But no, regardless of what's going on, take a look around you. A lot of people are struggling. You're struggling. If this caught your fancy, if this caught your eye, and you're like, how to not struggle in life, well, I might want to check that out. That means that you're struggling. And think up to yourself how long you've been struggling and what things you've been struggling at. And that's what I want to help repair, or not even repair. I said that this is not really wouldn't be that popular of a show, I think, because a lot of people don't want to hear some of the things I'm going to say today. But they will continue to suffer and struggle because they just don't get it. Now, am I saying I don't struggle, right? I don't suffer? I struggle a lot, not as much as most people. That's what it's inspired me. I'm always a solutions person looking, okay, we've got to struggle. Let me put it in context for you. As soon as my second daughter was born, we found out that, about a year to 2 years later, there was something going on with her. It wasn't right. Not necessarily right. There was just something not normal. I guess I can't say normal either. Well, basically, we found out that she's a special needs person. And immediately, it was a struggle. Right. And immediately, though, I looked and I looked and I says, oh, my goodness, how are we going to deal with this kind of stuff? But that's exactly what I did. I felt bad. I didn't really cry. I just looked and says, well, immediately we're going to have to start figuring things out. Whereas most people get dealt that kind of card in life, and they look and go, well, life's just going to be a struggle. And what can I do? And they scramble. And I think because of such things as public education, and because of the education we get from people around us, our peers who are struggling as well, I would like to add, never take advice from somebody who's struggling really hard, right? Why would you ask a person who's very overweight how to get six-pack abs? Obviously, they don't know. If you want to get rich and you're asking someone who lives in a cardboard box, it's not really going to work out too well. But for us to get a mindset, that's where my first note comes, is everything comes from within. That's the first note. And it really does, people. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't want to hear. It's going to be your perspective on life, your mindset. When you see a problem, maybe you feel bad about it. Maybe it evokes things in you where you're like, oh, let's just sit down and hold each other and cry about it. And, which in some cases you need support and things like that. And I have nothing against support, crying, hugging, and doing all those type of things. I do them myself with my children and people who need it. But I also look at, well, what are we going to do about this? And I think a lot of people, they go inwards and they start figuring out, giving themselves reasons, the gas station of why everything sucks, why everything's not working out for them, why it never has. There's always something, right? It's the mindset. You hear people say, well, there's always something. And they get stuck in that mindset saying, no matter what I do, there's always going to be something. So why even try? And that's the wrong mentality. That's the wrong thing, because everything comes from within. Whatever you perceive, there's a lot of self-help people and stuff out there, which I think I kind of avoid. But I do believe in what they say, is that your perception of a situation that's happening could determine your reality. So we can look at a situation where, let's just say I had a pile of brush or something, or wood, like I have at my farm, and there's these mice in there, and they're making nests. And I can tell they're going to want to be making babies. But I know I got to burn that pile, or I got to haul that pile to the trash. What I do is I start fidgeting with the pile to scare the mice. And you would say, that's mean, right? But you never, from an outside viewer, if you didn't ask questions or know what the situation is, you would think that I'm just messing with these mice for no reason, right? I want them to get away. I want them to go into a nook of a tree or somewhere where they belong, some other brush pile, some other place, some stack of wood or rocks that aren't going to be disturbed, because I don't want to burn or pick it up and crush them when I have to haul this stuff over. So by fidgeting with it all the time, they're looking, going, oh, well, this is getting irritating. We're going elsewhere. I didn't have to hurt them or nothing. They left. But from an outside perspective, you would think that I was a jerk. So those are kind of things that I look at as far as perspective goes. There's many things that happen in our lives, I think, that we don't take accountability for. I think a lot of us like to project outwards too a lot. You hear it all the time. And I know people don't want to hear this, but we'll start pointing out why the government's doing this and that, and why we're restricted in taxation and inflation, which we have going on. And it is a horrible thing. But the problem is always external. And we need to internalize and look and go, okay, well, I know what's going on, right? Hopefully you do. Hopefully you know that what's really going on is that there's nothing that you can do about these things. These things are happening. So you need to come up with a problem, with a solution. You need to learn how to pivot. I've got a special needs daughter, so I learned to pivot. I've got to do these certain things at this certain amount of time. I need to organize my life. My life that's the whole premise of the show is, when my daughter was born years ago and I started looking at all the struggles and things I had to do, the things that I implemented in my life, I actually made more money. I had more time for myself. I started eating healthier. I started researching things because of her situation as far as holistics. And I learned so much because of this, of a so-called problem. We've actually bloomed into the lifestyle that we live now, where I looked and I said, well, I'm going to have to start putting money away for in case any emergencies happen with her or anything like that. And that's how I've turned my life into what I call the alternative lifestyle design, where I've had to design things different from the way most people do. And when I looked at how many struggles and hurdles I had to jump through, I imagined to myself, what if I didn't have a special needs kid and I was implementing these things? Wow, I would get ahead really fast. I should share this with others. Hence, that's why we have the show. So you need to realize that everything comes from within. Yes, there's the taxes aren't things that you maybe voted on or things like that, or the inflation and all of these problems, diseases and climate problems and things like that. But there's definitely stuff that you can do and that you can make a difference. So I think where all this stemmed is from my next note here, which is human mind imprinting. Now, in Catholicism, and I don't want to talk, politics and religion. We didn't say we want to talk about this on the show, but it is interesting to me that in Catholicism, they say, give us a kid from, I think it's like 7 to 11 years old or something like that, and we'll turn them into a Catholic for life. They know that that's the developmental stages of a human mind where they're imprinting, this is what needs to happen. We don't want them to be Christian or Muslim or whatever. We're going to bring them in and imprint these things, and they'll have this subconscious dialogue in their mind, psychologically, they'll have these things in their mind where they don't know where they come from. So we have a lot of this imprinting too that we have from our parents, where save every penny, right? And now we're learning in this day and age that since the gold standard was changed, to remove from the value of the dollar, that dollars are just printing, savers are losers. That's something that people don't want to hear, but that's what the rich are, the rich are basically trying to teach people is like, look, you need to invest that money. Why would you save something that they're printing? And then inflation goes up and now your money, savings for losers. Back then it was. This is mind imprinting, because I'm in my 40s. My parents experienced when the gold standard was removed from the dollar, but yet they kept saving money. And where has it got a lot of them? I'm not just picking on just my parents, but a lot of people who save and save. Didn't really get them too far. Did get the ones that did invest the money that's paying them back as an asset. They're doing okay. But the ones that just keep saving are losing. They didn't really ever get ahead. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, if you have $1,000 in the bank that you've been saving, for this past from 2010 to 2022, that money is only worth, what I say, $1,000. It's only worth probably about $800 now. It's probably worth only about $700 now. It's depreciated because it's just sitting there. So, but the reason why the imprinting started was that back before the gold standard, was removed from the dollar, the value, if you put money in the bank, they actually paid you like a double digit, like what do they call that? I can't think of the word right now. Basically, it pays you back. It compounds interest, right? And it's your $1,000 is now worth $1,200 after a year, right? It just started saving you. It started making you money. Well, that's no longer the case. But yet people keep saying, go and save. I know this because I've asked a lot of older people, around here who are semi-wealthy. There's some wealthy people, and that's what I asked them is, what advice would you give on somebody to retire? Like, save as much money as you can. Now, learning differently from that mindset, from real true investors who are truly wealthy, is save that money, yes, and immediately that you can go and invest it. So we have this disease that's going on with our relationship with money and a lot of other things where we don't know why we're doing the things that we're doing, but they're imprinted in our minds. If you guys study psychology, you'll see that the subconscious mind, there are things that roll in there. That's where it goes, well, there's nothing I can do. I'm just one person. Or I failed so much at class and the teacher told me I was never going to amount to anything. All these little thoughts and things in your mind start accumulating, and these are the things that you don't have control over. They were imprinted. Now, we still have mind imprinting too as adults, in my opinion, with commercials and stuff. Look at our society. All women want to be that fancy model, with the big giant butt and the skinny legs and whatever have you, with the jewelry, and everybody's mimicking, trying to look like movie stars, yet we're not movie stars or rock stars or models. And then we start to think that that's the only thing that's beautiful for women. Men, same thing. Men should be driving a Porsche and being dominant and this, that, and look a certain way. And you see the trends happening all the time. It's imprinting. Because if it wasn't, people would stop, which is the last of my notes here, one of them, they would just be themselves and do what's right for you. You can't have a model for everybody's life to follow, of one, compartmentalization where we could just get this little box with these goods or this one book that's just going to fix everybody's lives, right? It's going to tell you how to save money, what to do for your health. We have different blood types. We have different mentalities. We have all kinds of different things. Like what one person sees as beauty, since we were on that subject, another sees as not so much, right? So everybody has things different, but yet the imprinting is there as far as buy, sell, trade, stocks, bonds, invest, get rich, don't get rich, money's evil, money's good. All this imprinting. It's up to us as individuals to go from within and figure out what is important to us. The way out of this is my next note is mini experiments. Now, these things don't cost anything to anybody. Nothing, just an experiment, just a thought. What if I didn't fill in the blank? Fill in the blank for yourself. What if I didn't? What if I didn't want to be acting like the rest of the society? What if society has it all wrong? What if the majorities of people, there's people always feel, well, everybody's doing it, so we should probably do it. Just like your parents taught you, stay out of bad situations. If everybody's doing it, if everybody's jumping off a bridge, would you? Right? But what if everybody maybe has something wrong? Why would I ask myself this question? Why would I do this mini experiment? Because I would look around me and say, well, I want to not struggle in life. And I want to see people who are not struggling, and maybe I can learn something. And what happens when I do this little experiment? I go around looking around at so-called successful people, and I see them in their homes all the time. They could barely walk. They don't really have great health, yet they have, excuse me, yet they have this nice house. They're very nervous. A lot of them say, I wish I would have saved more money. One of the dying regrets is very interesting. This Australian woman wrote a book because she was tending to people who were pretty much on their deathbeds, and she would talk to them. our senior citizens. And she found out that a lot of them started saying the same thing. One of the top 15 regrets that most people had said is, I wish I would have saved more money for retirement, because they had to live an unhappy life, trying to stay within the confines. Can you guys imagine doing a mini experiment for yourself that you no longer have an income? Now you're like a turtle on its back. Whatever you spend, that's when people get angry at old people, sitting there counting the dimes and nickels and stuff, and the pennies at the cash register, taking forever and all their coupons, because that's all they got. You should have some compassion. But those people, if life was so great, why would they have to go and live that type of life? Why would they, at the end of your life, maybe you have the money, but you don't have the health. Maybe you have the health and the money, but you're not really happy. You worked at something, for 50 years of your life that just started eating away your soul and your creativity, and you don't really know how to be creative anymore. The average lifespan of a man here in America is anywhere from 65 to 72 years old. And you guys want to know one of the saddest statistics? Most men, after they retire, pass away within the next few years. They don't know what to do with themselves. And this is so-called success. This is so-called success. Now, I'm not saying that everybody does this, but I want you guys to do mini experiments on everything, even yourself. Start to look at things and go, why don't I try things a little different? I'd like to give you guys a large experiment as one that I'm betting on. And I'll make this quick, because I took a lot of time from my life to not make a lot of money. I make really good money still, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm sitting here doing nothing, but I chose it to just not take money away from the time that I is with my family, my two children. I spend my money. I live very simple. That's how I do many retirements. That's how I'm able to only work 8 to 9 months out of the year and go travel with my children or do whatever I want for 3 to 4 months out of the year, not including that I took off an entire 10 days for Thanksgiving, another probably 10 days off for Christmas and New Year's. I'm able to switch things around for myself. But I looked at it as a life experiment when I started looking at older people. They have all this knowledge, they have all this expertise, and I think that they want to teach people, and they don't really have a purpose anymore, right? There's a lot of people that look, they're just old and all that kind of things. I looked at, what if in life we have things backwards as far as retirement? I should probably do a whole show. What if you waited towards the end of your life, towards the later part, not the end, but the last half? Do you realize how much you learn, how much quicker you are at everything? It doesn't, regardless of what you do. What if you waited that time? You spent your young life with your children or with your husband, wife, whatever. You guys traveled and hiked and did all this amazing stuff, right? And then once you started getting into your 40s, you really started to zero in on business, from taking all the things that you learned, how to manage money, how to make money, how to close deals and all those kind of things. And then you hired other people to do these things for you. And you never really retired. You found something. You spent all the younger parts of your years looking for something that you actually like doing. Because guess what? I don't think that you'd ever have to retire. Why? Because you would wake up in the morning eager and excited to get to work. And you'd also feel like you have a purpose. A lot of older people feel lonely. A lot of people don't want to spend time with them. But if you were a boss, and there's plenty of them out there, very wealthy people, you're able to run things. You have a purpose, and you're doing something, and you're making money. This is the time when you go out and basically, people say, for lack of better words, kill it. Because you don't really know much in your teens. You don't know much in your 20s, your 30s. You're compiling information and through experience, and you're learning and learning and learning. And something must be wrong in life if you're not progressing. You only should be getting better and better and better at what you do. So why not do an experiment for things like this? And I know that's a big one. And shoot for that. Shoot for that. Why can't we just turn things around? Because you don't get that time back. Anyways, I'm not sure if that one even made sense, but many experiments, guys, that you can do to not struggle. Stop doing what other people are doing. If they're going to the movies, to make it more simplified. I know I probably went off on a rant there for you guys, and some people are like, okay, that's crazy. But yeah, stop going to the movies. Stop doing these type of these sick relationships where money has to be spent and things like that. And just try it just once, one here, one there, and then you can always go back. You can always go back to the same thing. Just stop for yourself and just look around you. So that means, which brings me to my next note, is changing your habits. And I think a lot of us have these habitual habits. We have these what would you call traditional things that we're supposed to do, though a lot of us don't know why. A lot of things that we did 50 years ago, they don't apply to today. And that's one of the biggest things that we're going to see is we're going from in a technological revolution here. They had the industrial revolution, whereas machines and things like that. We're moving into a technological revolution where things are changing. The things we did before with physical goods and stuff like that, or machinery, is not really working out that well anymore in this day and age. It's starting to dwindle off. They're starting to get AI and robots and stuff to do things. We're going to have to change our habits basically to make money and to go further in life, to be successful and actually survive in my book. So there's a lot of people pulling strings and making things, inventing things that are surpassing the way our old habits were, and we need to change and pivot to be able to survive this great change. In order to change habits, I think what we need to do, as I said, is to do the mini experiments and things like that. But we need to get disciplined. We need to take a look at our lives. Where are we struggling at? We need to get that vantage point and say, well, are the habits that you're doing now, are they actually helping your life, right? By maybe you can introduce habits such as a 20-minute walk in the morning. Get up early in the morning and just do a 20-minute walk. Not a run, but a 20-minute walk. Get that air and that oxygen in your face. Maybe once a week, change your habits. Eat a vegetarian meal just to kind of clear out, right? And eat one healthy thing instead of a TV box. Basically what I'm saying, one home-cooked meal, whether it's meats, vegetables, whatever. I'm not into one or the other as far as veganism and all that kind of stuff. But make yourself at least something from home, from scratch, once a week. Do it for the flavor. Change your habits and start to develop your life the way you want it to be, because nobody's going to do this for you. Nobody could change your habits. And I think when I look at the destruction of our planet and the destructions for us as individuals, we're all having habits. We're all doing things that are not healthy for us or the planet. And if we just make some tweaking and some rearrangements of those habits, and there's many things to replace them with, just as our habits are to not care about these things, or to watch, puppy dogs fart on TV instead of, or looking at, say, YouTube and social media as something bad and evil, even TikTok, on TikTok, there's actually recipes, there's ways to fix things, grow food, all kinds of stuff. If you just type in the right stuff, change your habits from watching puppy dogs fart to educating yourself every once in a while. And the biggest one in my next note is you got to stop caring what other people think. That is the biggest thing in our society, where I look at, those of you watching, you guys can see I've been wearing this sweatshirt. It's got a hole in the sleeve. I don't really care what I look like, really. I have to, for sales and stuff like that, I have to dress up a little bit, but that's the only time I really care. I'm wearing a shirt today that I have no idea. It was given to me. I think I got it from the laundromat where somebody dumped the bag. It's a Budweiser shirt. It's a, I don't even know what it says. No, nothing beats a Bud, I think, with a big old bass. Somebody's fishing. I don't drink Budweiser beer. I don't really care about the statement, right? People will probably judge me by this shirt and say, well, look, he's a redneck bass fisherman, with his dad body. It does accentuate my dad belly here. But you know what? I don't really care. I'm too preoccupied with not struggling in life, with figuring out what I'm going to do. I'm out there working. I'm coming up with solutions. I don't have time to sit here and worry about what other people are thinking about me, whether they're judging me because of the stupid shirt I'm wearing or the holes in my jacket. This subject matter actually came up because yesterday I was on a job, and I don't like to brag a lot about money and things like that, but I'll just put it in perspective. I made in that day probably as much as those people made in a week. And because of my look, my dirty shirt and everything, they're asking me who I work for and everything, And they were like, man, that's such a tough job, working up on the roofs and stuff like that. And, wow, that's just crazy. I don't even think I could even do that. What I couldn't do is I couldn't work doing a 9-to-5 for somebody else for the rest of my life, and making breadcrumbs, basically. and trying to get my way up the corporate ladder, or, and whatever, all these, I'll just leave it at that. I love making the money that I make. I don't love doing what I'm doing, but the point of this is that I don't really care what other people think. Some people would say, well, why don't you dress up a little more? And I've been told this, have a little bit more respect for yourself. I was like, what? I didn't really comb my hair, and I do believe we got to draw the line like showering. There are some stinky people out there, like, that's just rude. I think, when you're smelling like a homeless person, I think you should change your... It's just, for me, for hygienically is where I draw the line, but, not caring what other people think. But people are so preoccupied basically with the aesthetics of life instead of the functionality. I think I take it a little bit too deep. I'm 100% into functionality. I don't care what something looks like whatsoever at all, including myself. Like I said, Crocs and socks, guys. I wear Crocs and socks when I go shopping. I let my feet air out. I hate wearing shoes. I'd go barefoot if they'd let me in. But I walk in there, Crocs and socks and dirty sweatpants and a shirt. I don't stink like a bum, but I go in there, unless I just got off the roof. But I go in and I take care of my business. I'm not even looking. And I think that's the biggest problem with people is they spend so much of their energy and time. And a lot of us don't have that much energy and time, right? And especially money to go and start looking the part. Do you want to appear successful, or do you want to be successful is my question. Do you want to be perceived as happy, or do you want to feel happy? And this is a big stop caring what other people think, because that's what's ruining. That's one of the major struggles in people's lives. What will my family think about if my kids don't graduate high school with honors, right? What if they end up getting a job at McDonald's? Don't embarrass me, as parents say. And that's the worst thing you could say to your kid. Maybe your kid is working at McDonald's to learn management. Maybe they just want to get by, and they will progress when they're left to their freedom. Maybe they just want to relax right now, which they should. I think when you're in your teens, you should have a whole bunch of fun. Because what do all of us old people say? Oh, the olden goldens. Back in the day, I used to, and it's all about stories. What about now? Right? What are you doing now to make yourself happy and bring adventure and excitement in your life? So little mini experiments when we watch people. So that's where I come from. Stop caring what other people think about you. And now what do you think about you? Huh? That's probably something that a lot of people don't want to hear either. What do you think about you? I tell my kids all the time, I believe in you, but that isn't nothing. That's zero. You have to believe in yourself. You have to pick yourself up. You have to figure out why you're struggling, and you have to come up with the things that work right for your blood type. Eat right for your blood type. You need to, and I don't buy into that one, by the way. I'm just saying there's certain foods that people are allergic to, certain people aren't. Find out what's good for you. Find out what makes you happy. Find out what you think is beautiful. And apply those things into your life and focus on those, and stop focusing on all the external judgment and things like that, and just live your life. And I call this the great let go. Excuse my coughing. This is the great let go. We have the Great Reset. We have we had the Great Depression and the Great Recession and stuff like that. To me, what we need to counteract all this is the great let go. Let it go, my friends. If all of this is working so well, then why do we have so many people struggling? Why do we have people who appear wealthy, but when you talk to them, they're miserable? No, I suffer from anxiety, and but not nearly as much as what I guess other people do. There's some so-called wealthy people that were in my life, older people. And when I went to visit them, I asked, where is this person at? Like, oh, he's laying in bed, and so it's like conversation struck up that, I was like, suffer from anxiety. Like, that's exactly what he does. Every weekend, he eats this pill that just completely takes his mind off everything. He lays in bed, he takes a nap, he sleeps for a few hours, watches TV just to decompress. Whatever you're doing that you need to decompress and take some sort of drug as medication and lay in bed all day, there's something wrong. There's something that's not right, in my book anyways. I don't know, maybe I'm a little weird that way. But the great let go. The great let go is let go of all of this stuff that we have going on around us, all the things that you think are not working. There's no blueprint for everybody to follow. And if there was, which it seems like there is, like everybody agrees, this is what you get: go to school, go to college, get married, have kids, get your portfolio, buy a house, if that's working so well, then why are the majority of people so unhappy and struggling? because we're following something that doesn't work. So, guys, that's the show. I know I probably started. I better go before I start really getting excited here. Start spitting all over the place. But yeah, guys, it's the great let go. Let go and grab onto what it is that makes you happy, what makes sense. You are free to move around this planet, anywhere in the world you are, to make something. There's a video of a woman I saw, a Chinese woman or Japanese something, making bamboo huts and things in the middle of the jungle, and all she had was a phone. And I think she's got like thousands, if not millions, of subscribers and views and things. And all she's doing is pretending that she's on Peter Pan's Island, or what is that show with the Swiss Family Robinson, right? She's over there fishing, cutting her own food and steaming things, making stuff out of bamboos and rocks and clay, making something out of nothing. No matter where you're at in the world right now, there is something for you. Keep searching, my friends. Keep staying hungry and thirsty. Don't buy into what we're being sold. Don't buy into all the negativity and the things that you look at that are so-called positivity, the way our parents, our teachers, our government, anybody tells you this is the way things are. It's the way they've always been. It's the way they'll be forever, right? Or here's all the things you should do. Take a good look at that person. Do a mini experiment. What if you didn't do those things? What if you replaced that with something else? Because everything could, in my opinion, could always be reinvented, or not even, it could be improved upon. Somebody comes up with something, there's always room for improvement. Make it that much better. And each one of you guys is good at something. I believe that everybody is good at a lot of things. They just don't go and look at them. In fact, we just sit here and we eat the sandwich that's fed to us from our governments and the psychological sandwich, the psychological Subway sandwich that we get from maybe even our parents, people that we actually respect. Now, I'm not being disrespectful to our elders, but to me, a lot of things that they say, some of them do work, some of the things are great, but a lot of them, not so much. And you don't have to voice and be a jerk and tell them that, but think for yourself. Do those things apply? Are they something that's been implemented, and are they really working? So guys, that's the show. I hope that I've inspired you guys. If I have, please like, subscribe, help me out, get the show off the ground. And if you guys want to email me, let me know what you guys want to hear about, what you guys think. If you give me a thumbs down, tell me why. And that's it, guys. As I always say, go out there and have yourself a near-life experience. Don't lose your muchness. Carry on the fire. And human up, my friends.